Okay. Okay. Thank you all for coming to our ECE Culture Club. Today we have our lovely student Demba Komma, who is going to be presenting on Gambia and the ancestral West African region. So we're super excited to have him, and then I'll let him take it away.
Um, yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm glad to actually talk to you about Gambia. So this, I don't know. So over here, you see, just in the middle up here, that's the map of Gambia. So we are a very, very small country, really small, 2 million people. It's the smallest country in mainland West Africa. And mostly, it's still an developing country. So you have a lot of like pockets of um, a, a, quite a significant percentage of the population lives below poverty level based on the UN guidelines. And then most of the economy runs on services and agriculture. So I just picked up a few pictures that I feel like represent Gambia. On the top left hand side, that's like the river, which is like one of the most important resources that the country has. Then Gambia is very well known for birding. If you are actually into birding, like the Gambia actually has a lot of different species of birds. So there is a lot of like birding institutes that actually have like camp in Gambia during the migration seasons of different birds that leave Africa for Europe and the Americas. Then agriculture is actually a major part of the economy, which actually are communal lands which are used by women and men in the rural areas to actually feed their families. So on the right-hand side is like people actually sowing rice. So rice is actually the main. Rice and peanuts are actually one of the two of the biggest agricultural products, but I would say rice is the one in this recent years. So Gambia, that's the map of Gambia that I'm showing over here. It actually shows most of the important cities that we have. And as you can see, like mostly the river actually plays an important role in the Gambia in that most of the major centers in Gambia are all located close to the river. So this is the capital, Banjul, either to the river or on the coast. This is Serakunda, and this is Brikama. This is actually where I am from. We are approximately about 10 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. We have the Atlantic Ocean, 50 miles of the Atlantic coastline, and we are the smallest country in mainland Africa with population 2 million and an area of 4,000 square miles. I think we are only larger than the states of Rhode Island and Delaware. So in comparison, Connecticut is 4,845 square miles. So we mostly have a tropical climate, and that actually attracts a lot of tourists. One thing Gambia is known for mostly is the tourism. It's like a big part of the economy. So during the winter years, winter times in Europe, many people come from Europe to Gambia for holidays during those, because even in December we are about 70 something degrees or 80 degrees in Gambia, even in December when it's very cold up there. So the coastline is really beautiful, and we are known. The nickname of the country is the Smiling Coast of Africa. Very friendly people, obviously, friendly to a fault, I would say. And this actually shows the Gambia is red here in the map of West Africa. This is the map of West Africa from where this line goes all the way where it meets this. It doesn't contain the Central and Chad. So from Cameroon and Nigeria to Niger, all the way up to the coast, this is all West Africa. And Gambia is surrounded on all three sides by Senegal. And on the west, we are surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, which is 50 miles. If you have any questions, you can stop me. But like, if I get done as well, I made the presentation so that it would be about 30 to 35 minutes, so we can have like a session if people have questions to ask. Um, so yeah, so most of these borders, I would say, they are borders for borders' sake, because in West Africa, the population around this region, especially in the Gambia sub-region, Senegal, Gambia, Bamako, Guinea, are almost the same people. almost everyone has a relative 3 or 4 generations ago, or some cousins also who are actually from other countries. Just because these borders were drawn during the colonial times, and mostly they are not actually observed, especially around the borderlines, because communities have been built. Communities have been built for generations ago before the borders came to place, and they don't actually pay attention to the borders like they are done, let's say, in the case of US and Canada. So it is not the same as US and Canada in the Gambia and Senegal, especially Gambia and Senegal. So um, normally you don't even need a passport or anything to travel around West Africa, but these borders are just there for borders' sake. And I guess we are getting used to the idea of having like a country called the Gambia separate from Senegal since it's been running since 1965 after we gained independence. Um, so the River Gambia is one of the, this is like one of the most important resources of the Gambia. It is also one of the major rivers in West Africa. So it is used, it has like a very good vegetation. It is very important for the vegetation and the drainage in the country and in the region as a whole. It is also used for transportation and transporting cargo, recreation. So like it is almost going to the river and actually swimming is almost a rite of passage, I would say. So most of the coming of age festivals that happen, or the coming of age ceremony, or the coming of age tradition, like especially of young men, is that you should know how to swim. Going to the river and knowing how to swim is all part of the coming of age, especially for boys. So that is like a very big part, a very big culture, and a very big recreational activity for people who actually grew around the river. Farming, agriculture is an important thing. The river actually supports the livelihoods of like a lot of people. Almost like 50 to 60% of the population still depends on the river for their livelihood, especially on agriculture. Say in the rural areas, the percentages are down now because of urban migration of people from the rural areas into the urban regions. But previously, the river plays an important role in irrigation. So this actually shows like a community of women actually planting rice, and this is the harvest time. So mostly the river actually helps in actually it's actually an important source for irrigating and then providing food for people living around. Recreation, transport, and this is just a swampy region showing a part of the country at the mouth of the river. This is actually very close to where I live. It's called, in our local language, what we call tributaries from a river, we call them bolong. So this is like Bintam Bolong. It's like a very popular place, has some spiritual connection to the city that I grew up in. Um, that's why I just showed this. But so the river is actually 700 miles. It actually runs from Futa Jalon, which is like 3 countries from Gambia, all the way to Guinea Conakry, and then it runs and empties into the Atlantic Ocean. It's also one of the most navigable rivers in West Africa. So history of the Gambia. So pre-colonial, before colonialism, that is like before the British came, before Gambia became a part of the British Empire. Sorry. All right, yeah. So before Gambia became part of the British Empire, in pre-colonial times, Gambia was part of part and parcel of the 3 great empires of West Africa. So in West African civilization, there are many different kingdoms, but the ones that were very popular and the ones that were well known were 3 of them. This is the Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire is the one in purple, the Mali is the one in green, and the Songhai is the one in yellow. So you can see present-day Gambia was actually part of the Mali Empire. In fact, present-day Gambia is heavily influenced by the culture, tradition, and civilization that actually grew up in the ancient Mali Empire. Ghana Empire was more central, and the Songhai Empire actually expanded even broader than the Mali Empire all the way eastwards as well. So because of this because of the historical nature of this, so that is why I say most of the people that live in this region are almost similar, because the people that you'll find in Gambia, the same ethnicity, the same ethnic groups are the same people that you will find in Mali, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, all the way to Sierra Leone, all the way to Mali, and even some parts of Niger. The ethnicity, the language, the food, the culture, and the customs and traditions are very similar. And so that also has actually helped in that even after colonial times, this area was pretty stable compared to the rest of Africa. So there wasn't a lot of like civil wars that actually grew up in this area, because historically, even before the advent of colonialism, most of these regions were under empires, which actually influenced their traditions and cultures. Among these three empires, the Mali Empire was one of the most popular. So the, oopsie. Oh, sorry. So the Mali Empire was one of the most popular, and then it was mostly famous because it introduced West Africa to the world during the reign of Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, from historical accounts, was probably one of the richest people who ever lived, because the region was very, very rich in gold. When he traveled to Mecca with a caravan, he traveled with a caravan of gold he traveled with a lot of gold in that caravan all the way to uh, Mansa Musa was one of the kings of Mali, and then he was a Muslim. How would you say, he was, is it baptized or proselytized to a Muslim? So he was a Muslim, and then when he became a Muslim, he went to pay pilgrimage to Mecca. So this is one of the pillars of Islam, that if you are a Muslim, you should go to Mecca once. And during his journey to Mecca, he went with a lot of gold. And with his caravan, they passed through Egypt. That for 2 years, the price of gold fell down because of the amount of gold he went on his way, and then he gave out. So he accumulated a lot of wealth during his reign. And that journey was what announced most of West African civilization and West African empires to the world. Also, the Kingdom of Mali during his reign actually started one of the earliest university, uh, the earliest university known in West Africa. This was in the 11th century. Then
I had a question, Demba. Liz was asking how do many people in Gambia speak English?
Yes. So I cannot see the chat. Is it possible for somebody to? I have only one screen. Is it possible for
Yep,
somebody?
I'll read the questions to you when they come in. No worries.
Oh, okay. Yes. So because we are a former British colony, our official language is English. So like most people actually speak English. A majority, anyone who goes to school, you will mostly learn in English. So like I went to English school. We used English as the means of communication in school from my from kindergarten all the way to college. So our neighboring country, Senegal, is a former French colony, so they speak French mostly. So there is some French influence in the country as well, but English is actually the major language that is spoken. So if I actually am talking to somebody, if I meet somebody from Gambia over here in the US, and we cannot talk in each other's ethnic languages, we just speak in English mostly, or anywhere in the world, if you meet another Gambian, English probably is a better way to talk. And also there is a broken English called Creole. So there is a broken English called Creole. This is very popular in West Africa, in the former British colonies. That there's Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia was not a former British colony, but it's also an Anglophone country. That is, it speaks English as its official language, because Liberia was formed by freed slaves in 1817 from the US who were transported to Africa, and they actually started that country called Liberia. So they also speak English. So with the mix of English and the native languages, there is some sort of broken English called Creole that is also formed. In Nigeria and in Ghana, it might be called Pidgin English. So I normally cannot speak that. I'm not very good at it. I can understand it, but if people speak very fast, I cannot even understand it. It's normally a mix of formal English and traditional languages. And I think even in the US, some regions have some African American regions, especially in South Carolina, have some sort of like that type of English. I forgot the name of that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we speak English because of our history with the British Empire. The English is still our official language in Gambia. So the Ghana Empire was present from 300 to 1235, and then the Mali Empire from 1214 to 1460. And the Songhai Empire came in later that actually ran until the 16th century. So Gambia was mostly influenced by the westward expansion of the Mali Empire when Mansa Musa's reign was happening, because he wanted to conquer a lot of land, and he sent like people who couldn't have like administrative princes and kings who couldn't have like uh, there was an incentive for princes and kings to actually conquer new lands, to actually get to new lands so they can actually have a state that they can govern. So that is the westward expansion was why Mali Empire came all the way to the coast in Gambia. So we were part of the British Empire from 1766 until 1965. And mostly the main attraction of the British was the River Gambia. So sadly, if you look at the shape of the Gambia, it is heavily influenced by the river because it is pretty bizarre. There is a lot of people make a mockery of the shape of the country. So the British were only interested in the river. So I think during the colonial times, the agreement with French, what became known as present-day Senegal and the present-day Gambia, it was divided because the British were only interested in the river, and they demarcated it as stand on the river and then cut 15 miles north, 15 miles south. So that is why from here you can exactly see like basically the land flows exactly north and south on equal points. So that is how the map actually came up to this point. Then actually it actually increased a bit. So it was mostly the river was actually what influenced the shape of the country. And the main reason for why the British were interested in the river was a very important, had a very important ports during the transatlantic slave trade. So we have like Fort Bullen here and then Fort James. Both of these were important ports during the transatlantic slave trade. And then there is like some colonial ports over. So the British were very interested in this. And then this also played an important role when the British actually started to stop the slave trade. These ports were used to actually ban ships from moving. These ports were also used to actually attack ships that were still trying to send people to the Americas. And then most of those people who were rescued settled in the Gambia as well. And then we gained independence in 1965. So the US President FDR visits Gambia in 1943 when he was going to Casablanca. Because we are on the westernmost part, he made a stop there to refuel before going to Casablanca. During the Casablanca conference in 1943, that was in World War, it was during the time of war, and there was some peaceful conference that was actually going on between America and the other powers. And then this was the first visit by a US president to an African country. And after his visit, FDR supported the cause for Gambian independence. And he actually made the case to Churchill, William Churchill of Britain. Eventually, a movement for independence also started in the Gambia. And then the US actually threw its support to many African countries, West African countries who were trying to break from British colonialism. So governance in Gambia, so mostly we have a Republican system of governance. We have a Republican system of governance similar to US, but we don't have like our legislative body is just one house instead of like the Senate and the House like you have in US. So it's normally the executive, which is led by the president, and the legislative body, which is led by the Speaker of the House, and the judicial branch, which is actually led by the Chief Justice, similar to the US. So we only had 3 presidents since independence. The first one is this guy, Kairaba Jawara, who was one of our, I would say, our independence leaders. They fight for independence. He was the leaders of that. Then we had like Yahya Jammeh from 94 to 2007. And then currently we recently had a new president in 2017. Sadly, from 1994 to 2007, Gambia was actually The rule was actually by military. This guy was a former military, so that rule was pretty autocratic. And then a lot of people from Gambia had to leave the country. So that was actually a bad time. But of recent, we had a new president, and he's been exiled for now. Uh, so Gambia, for its size, we are just 2 million people. It is like a very diverse in ethnicity. So in West Africa, in the whole of West Africa, Gambia has like almost every ethnic group. So we have Mandinka forms the majority, then Fulani, Wolof, Jola, Sarakule, Serere, Aku, Manjako, Bambara. All these ethnicities have their own languages and then have their own traditions and customs. But historically, all these ethnic groups were also part of those three West African empires that I mentioned earlier on. All these languages are still spoken, and almost any Gambian is fluent in at least 2 to 3 different languages. So I am okay in Wolof. I can speak Mandinka, that's my native language. Then I can speak Wolof, and I can understand a little bit of Fula and Aku. So depending on the region that you grew up in, because there is no ethnicity that forms like a complete majority, there is a lot of cooperation between them, a peaceful coexistence for generations. That was as a result from the history of the West African empires, which actually shaped the cultures and traditions of the people. And these pictures I just showed like 4 different images of like, because weddings are a big deal in Gambia. So mostly the cultures and traditions, you will see differences when it comes to weddings. So these are like 4 different groups. So this on this top right hand side, that's the Mandinka bride. On this left here, this is a Sarahule bride. It goes through a horse or a donkey. Then this is a Wolof bride, and this is a Fulani bride. So weddings are a pretty big deal in the Gambia, depending. Of recent, things have changed, but traditionally, normally weddings can take up to like 7 days. And then if you are like in certain ethnicities, sometimes if you go the full traditional route, you keep on wearing this until 40 days after your marriage. During these days, you don't cook, you don't do anything. Mostly by then, you are being pampered by everyone, because wedding, and then if you give birth to if you are recently married or you just recently gave birth to a child, those are like very, very important events in the tradition. So you are treated like a queen for at least some amount of time. And there is a lot of support too, especially when you give birth newly. And so these are festivals that happen. We call these Kankuram festivals. Of recent, these are just recreational festivals where a lot of tourists actually go in December for this because a lot of these festivals happen. You have people that have like mystical powers that they do. They can kind of some sort of magic, and they do that. They dance and they entertain people. But historically, from a historical aspect, these were like spiritual festivals. So any person who is wearing this costume, of recent, you don't need to have those powers to wear the costume. But historically, people who wear this costume have like a lot of powers. So women who are having difficulty to have children come to these festivals to actually ask for forgiveness or some way to seek blessings so that they can have children. Or if you have like some trouble, you come to these people, and then during the festival they do some you give something to the person wearing the costume, and then there is a belief that with that your good fortune will come your way after you do that. So these Kankuran festivals, these are very common if you do coming of age ceremonies. So normally, traditionally, when you are coming of age from like a boy during puberty to being a man, you go to like a bush or a yard. Traditionally, like all the people in the clan, all the young people in the clan go together. And then this is where normally circumcision happens in Gambia. This is normally where circumcision happens traditionally. And then these kankurangs, these are a major part of that, because they teach the young boys how to behave like a man, how to hunt, how to swim, and how to actually act like a man. It's like you've gone through your boy stage, now you are a man. I see some chat messages,
Yeah,
but
we
I
have
can't
a
read
few
them.
questions. Alyssa was asking, what is the best time of year to visit?
December. December is the best time to visit in Gambia. It's also the most expensive, but if you want to visit and enjoy, you want to go in December. That is when majority of the diaspora and Gambian all go home because it's Christmas holidays over here, and that is when all these most of these festivals happen. Um, Also, the weather is much more. Okay, it will be around 75 by then, around December, depending.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more pleasant than winter in Michigan.
Yes.
She also asked another question. She said, how are the schools set up? Like in the US, we have elementary, middle, high school. Is it mostly people go to public, or how does that compare in Gambia?
Oh yeah, same. We have the same thing too. So we have like we have the same thing. It's the elementary, primary, middle, and senior. So it's the same thing. It's normally the British system, where you go to your O level and then you go to your A levels. So it's very similar to how India is. So pretty close to how India is. It's just the British system that we have. Um,
Perfect. And then we got another question from Haley. She was asking if it is a real lion head and what does it signify? I think
No, no, no. Recently, these are false lion heads, but that's why I said historically, these things are all real lion head, real tiger skin. But now, because most of these are just for entertainment purposes, especially during tourist season, those are the only pictures I could get. They'll actually put the shape of a lion head inside. But normally, historically, these are all. This is a lion. This was supposed to be a lion head, and then they used to use lion skin, and this is a certain type of tree. This is a certain type of grass. It's called I don't know, jamba. Some I forgot. I actually forgot the traditional name myself. But it's a certain type of tree that, like, if you are not really spiritual enough, it is supposed to be poisonous. So that is why people who normally wear these costumes are supposed to have mystical powers before you can do any of these exercises. Uh, but now it is just for entertainment purposes. They do this. Yeah.
do you happen to know what the lion head signifies?
No, not really. I don't know the deep meaning of it. I know that, like, I know that the people who do them are supposed. I just know that they are supposed to be powerful spiritually, but I don't know the meaning of the lion itself. Yeah, yeah. So in Gambia, I think the big major city that we have is Banjul. That is our capital city. Um, And Banjul is just at the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean. So this is just an aerial view of the city. This is like a landmark of the city at this entrance point. Historically, this is the Albert Market, Royal Albert Market. This is during the British colonial administration. So it's still like a very big tourist attraction, especially for people from England. I really don't see the appeal of it, but people actually still go over there because it still has like all those colonial market styles. If you want to go to old Banjul when the colonial time was happening, and this is the coast of Banjul. So Banjul technically is actually an island. So it is connected to the mainland by a bridge, and it is also the administrative capital of the country. So Combo Coastal Strip. So mostly the major attractions in Gambia actually are, I would say, cities are like most of the major cities where people actually visit is the Combo area. This is where you have like the Atlantic Ocean and the mouth of the River Gambia. So on this place is Cape Point. This is a very nice place to actually visit. Also, if you want to go and relax and then have like a very nice view of the ocean, it's a nice place to go. The funny thing is, traditionally in Gambia, the oceans, it's just in recent years that like there has been a lot of development on the ocean front. Traditionally, people had land over there, but we normally don't live at the ocean. So traditionally, people just live inland, and then you go to your ocean land just if you need to do something. People own there, but traditionally they are not settling places. You normally lived at least like 2 miles or 3 miles away 2 miles away from the ocean. But of recent, because of a lot of heavy tourism, the country is actually shifting a lot to a service economy and trying to attract a lot of tourists. There has been a lot of development on the ocean front of late. Hopefully, although hopefully climate change is in our best, is hopefully we don't see the worst of climate change over the coming years. But the construction on the ocean front has been pretty concerning of late. This is Gunjur. This is like 5 miles from where I lived. This is a mosque. As you can see, this is a very it's a place where many people go and get prayers from. There was there was one of the spiritual leaders who actually initially settled over here. People believe him to be some sort of a saintly figure in Islam. So a lot of people go over to this mosque to pray for whether you want a good life or you, especially, it is actually well known for uh, let's say women who cannot have children. Also, many of them go over to this place. Gunjur is actually well known for that. So this is the coastal city. This is also Gunjur too, pretty close to my country. And this is Bintam Palong. This is what I initially showed earlier on. So musical instruments. So there are a lot of musical instruments in Gambia, but I think these two are very unique in that these two, I think, originated actually from Gambia. So this is the kora musical instrument, and this is the djembe. Djembe is very similar to many drums that you have, but like djembe normally in Gambia is traditionally it should be made by there's a certain type of tree that you use for it, and then you use like either a leopard skin, but now people don't have leopard skin, they just use any animal skin, they just use goat skin or sheep skin or something like that. And this is kora. This is used a calabar and then a string. So it's a 21 stringed instrument, and I will play the kora. This is like the symbol, I would say, for Gambia. So many people, when they come, if they are going out, this is what you give them as a gift, because kora was originally found in the Gambia, and djembe from the Gambian sub-region, actually.
Did you say you can play any of these?
Sadly, I don't know how to play kora. I wish djembe a little bit. I am okay. I am decent in this one, but kora is actually kora is actually very hard to play. Because normally, traditionally, how it is made, you have to retune your strings at every point in time. So it's actually it's not an easy instrument to play. So people who actually go into this, there are special line of people who just go to school just to do kora. So normally it's like in their lineage. These are normally called the jalis, or they are called the oral historians. So traditionally in the Mali Empire, every king has an oral historian. So your jali, there is a certain line of people, a certain family of people who actually do this. They actually specialize in the kora and in the oral history of the place. So because there was not a lot of history, so your oral historian is given to a prince immediately they are born, and the oral historian will learn the entire details of the prince, the entire treaties that were signed with other kingdoms nearby. So it becomes like a counsel to the king, in that before the king goes to war, you have to actually consult with your oral historian. And this lineage of family people are the ones who actually specialize in the kora in our region. And children actually start very young in actually training for the kora. But now it is actually of recent, they are trying to actually include it into the formal education system as well, so that actually it will be so that many people can actually get started playing it, because it's like there's just a very limited amount of people who can do this very well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So food and drinks. So even though there's been a lot of influences in Gambia, one thing with Gambia is that even though we are very small, 2 million people in West Africa, we have like a diverse palette of food. So this was because of recent, I would say of recent, the reason why Gambia has that diverse head compared to the rest of the West African region is because so Gambia had a lot of net migration from a lot of West African countries into the country. So I think in year 2000, just like 10 years ago, the population just grew up like 100%. There has been a lot of net migration from other countries in the neighboring West African region, because sadly there was some civil wars in like Guinea-Bissau and Liberia and Sierra Leone. If you ever watched the movie Blood Diamond and stuff like that, they were depicting those civil wars around those regions. There were a lot of diamonds in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and that actually caused a lot of like civil war between parties in different regions. And then there were a lot of people that moved from those countries into Gambia, and they stayed over there. So with them, they brought their food and then traditional cuisines over there, and then it became a mix and match of people of different ethnicities. So the food that actually grew out of that became very unique in the region. So one of the major drinks that would served is wonjo juice. So I searched for this on Google. I couldn't find the English name for it. There's a scientific name for it. I didn't put that. I couldn't find the English name for it. It's some sort of plant, and then you actually dry it. And when you dry it, you put it in water, and then you let it sit for like a day or two. And then after that, it is pretty sour and sweet. And then it is like that. And this is baobab juice. So baobab is like an ancient tree in Africa. These trees have been in Africa. These trees have been like 1,000 years old or something like that. They are like very well known all across Africa. And then like the juice from that, you use this baobab seeds, and then you actually put water on it and you let it seep through. And then with that, you add some sugar, or depending on what type of juice you want to make. But it is used in a lot of meals actually. So food, and so this is food. This is benachin. Benachin is very popular in Gambia. Depending on the region you are in, there is like depending on the region you are in, people have different styles of benachin. So there's always a lot of debate. But you might have heard of this as jollof rice in Nigeria. So the thing that is called jollof rice actually started in Gambia region called benachin. So that is why the name Jollof actually refers to a kingdom that was in the Gambia sub-region. So Nigerians and Ghanaians all normally always like try to compete with each other who makes the best jollof rice, but originally it came from the Gambia. So this is jollof rice. It's very close to jambalaya. You can see some of these foods are very close. I normally relate it to like their American components. So the way jambalaya is made, where you put rice, tomatoes, and you put a lot of seafood in it, is the way you make benachin too. This is.
Oh, sorry, Demba. We got a question from Professor Najafi. He said, "Can you get wonjo juice or seeds here?"
Good question. I think in Atlanta I can get it. I don't know. I don't know in Michigan. If I go to the African store, the Gambian store in Detroit, I should be able to get it. But I know in Atlanta for sure I can get it. But if you want one, I would highly suggest Baobab. This is like it's actually making a lot of rounds in the healthy blogs. This is a very healthful food. I never knew its nutrient information when I used to drink it every day, but apparently it's like very healthy.
And Haley also asked if there's any restaurants in the Ann Arbor area that have similar foods that you recommended.
No, not in Ann Arbor. The closest is in Inkster. It's in Inkster, right? I think Garden City. It's called KG's African American Grill. So it is technically Senegalese, but because Senegal and Gambia are almost similar people, so like yeah, it is Senegalese. So there's KG's African Grill, or if you are in Detroit, you can call. It's called Marty's. I'll type them out. I'll let you know. It's
Thank you.
Marty's in Detroit.
And then Professor Najafi also asked if you cook Gambian food at home for yourself.
Yes. I do make. I'll show. So I'm not very good at making this. This is very complicated to make. So I make something close to it, but it's not as great as when my mom cooks it. or when I even go to Atlanta and I have a friend makes it. So I'm not really good at this, but I'm really good at the other two that I will show very close. Um, yeah. Is there any other question?
He also asked, what is your favorite?
Uh, yeah. This would be my favorite. I'll come to it in a bit. I'll answer that. So this is smoked fish. So because we are on the river and on the coast, seafood seafood is a very part of is an important part of the cuisine. So the different varieties of fish. Just snacks are just many snacks are just like just some sort of smoked food or some sort of like seafood that is dried or smoked and then they just give it out. You can just buy it on the street. Um, and then this is caldo. This is like just food lightly. Uh, this is just fish lightly steamed with onions, garlic, and just some onion sauce. This is really, really good. If somebody makes it who knows how to do it, I am not very good at making this stuff. Um, so this is my favorite. This is domada. It's called peanut butter soup. And if you put it on Google, there is a lot of people who actually do it. So this is peanut butter soup. It's you use peanut butter and tomatoes, and then you put meat, and then whatever else you want to add onto it. It is really, really good. So this is my favorite. I like, and I normally make it occasionally, maybe once in 3 months or once in 2 months. It takes some time, maybe 3 hours or so to make it. Uh, so this is super kanja. This is gumbo. If you've been in the south and you ate gumbo, so gumbo originally when it came, there is like some that it's said that it was influenced by the African slaves that came over, and actually the name gumbo in traditional language in our local language in Gambia, gumbo means okra. So its name actually came from how like the people who came actually called like the okra, the main ingredient of gumbo. So this also the local name is super kanja. This kanja is the local name. It's also another way of referring to okra. You can refer to okra as kanja or you can refer to it as gumbo in our local dialects. So this is a very thick gravy gumbo, a lot of seafood and a lot of okra, and then you add like some extra you add some extra leaves onto it as well. And this is plazas actually. So this is not caldo. This is plazas. This is you take potato leaves, you boil them, and then you put some peanut butter into it, or some peanut grounded peanut onto it, and that is what this gives you. And it is normally served with rice. This is served with rice, or it is served with like some sort of like it is served with something called fonio in English, FONIO, but locally we call it findi. It is almost close to quinoa. So this is also exclusively that type of millet is exclusively um, grown in the West African region. I've not seen it anywhere else. It's called fonio. It's very close to how quinoa is. Normally, that is what you use to eat this with. Or if you don't have that, you eat it with peanut. Eat it with rice. Um, so the attractions, obviously, because Gambia, most of the tourists who come to Gambia just actually stay in the like coastal areas because mostly people just want to come and see the coast. The coast is really nice, and there has been a lot of investment to make sure the coast is very clean, and a lot of tourists normally visit for that. You have like warm beaches and a very nice areas to stay around the coastal areas on the Atlantic Ocean. And also you have a lot of people who can speak English, so that actually makes it attractive to a lot of European visitors and American visitors and Canadian visitors of late. Um, so this is the stone circles, but if you go in the interior of the country, this is the Wasu stone circles. These have been dated to 750 to 1000 AD. They are believed to be the burial grounds of kings and chiefs. So these have been found in different regions of the country. At least there are about 6 different regions in the Senegambia region that have this sort of circles. And the tallest of them is about 2 meters, I think. Yeah, 2 meters actually. Yeah, so it is believed these were burial grounds of kings and chiefs, and they are like really old. And of late, there has been like a preservation effort to actually keep them preserved. but they've stayed this long because the materials that were used, the craftsmanship that was used to build this was pretty good during that time. And this is Kunta Kinte Island. If any of you watched Roots, the 1977 movie by Roots, so Kunta Kinte came from originally Gambia, where present-day Gambia is. So this is the island where that was, and then it was an important port during the Atlantic slave trade. This were like the last port of call where like some slaves were held before they actually were transported to the Americas. And it is still being maintained. It's some sort of a tourist attraction still. You might have to, the reason why Kunta Kinte Island is nice is like, because still there is no bridge connections to it. If you are going, you want to use the local canoes, and that's actually a pretty cool journey if you go through that. So if you've not watched Roots is like a movie. I think they recently released a newer version 3 years ago. So the 1977 classic by Alex Haley, that is the picture of Kunta Kinte. But they just recently released a new version of it. So it was based on a true account of like somebody coming from Jufure, coming to the Americas, and then being forced to actually live, to change their name. It was just show the life of somebody from Africa, and 3 generations later, how its offspring developed in America during that time. The movie, if you watch it, whatever they are referring to Jufure, that's in Gambia. That is what this Kunta Kinte Island is. And this was the port that was portrayed in the movie. The other pool is the Kachikali crocodile pool. Well, if you want to actually see crocodiles or you want to touch them, you can go to this place. It is okay. You can actually go and even touch them. If you want to see crocodiles or alligators. So because we are a tropical area, we have a lot of swamp, we have a lot of crocodiles and alligators, just like Florida as well. Basically, our climate is very close to how Florida is. So this is a pool. Historically, this pool actually was a spiritual place. Now it is a tourist attraction. It's an attraction place. People go and pay like maybe 50 cents and go inside and see. But historically, it was like it was a spiritual place. So people actually go over there to pray for good things, fortunes, stuff. So I am saying thank you here, and then I want to play, if I have time, I want to play the kora. Can you hear this? Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear this?
No.
Can you hear the sound from the video?
No, I don't think it's playing right now, so.
How about now?
No, I don't hear it. You may have to stop screen share and then click on the share sound button.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fine. I think actually I just put this in case I am not, I think I'll just take questions now. I'll send a link to this video if anyone wants to actually watch it. Okay. It's like, this is how the kora is played. It's a very nice sound, very nice somber sound. And this is Sona Jobata. She was in Anabo 3 years ago at the summer festival. She is she's the first, because normally kora players are mostly men. She's the first female solo kora player from Gambia. And she is like one of our best exports of late. Actually, our most famous export currently. So these are 2
questions too. I can look it up and find it and play it as well.
Yeah. I'll send a screenshot. I'll send it in the, I'll put it in the chat. So yeah, I'm open for questions. We have 7 minutes.
Can I ask a question? Thank you so much, Demba, for a very nice presentation. I was interested in learning about this, and this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing this with us. Can I ask, can you tell, if you would like, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you end up in Ann Arbor? Maybe you said it's at the very beginning. I missed the first 2 or 3 minutes. But how did you end up in Ann Arbor?
Oh, I see. So I came to, I did my undergraduate at the University of Mississippi.
Okay.
And then when I was done, I moved to Michigan to work at Ford Motor Company for 2 years. Then after that, I applied for PhD, and then, well, yeah, I am.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So who do you work with? Who's your advisor?
My advisor is Professor Mingyan Liu, and
Oh, okay.
and Hun Sok Kim.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And is there like a, I don't know, are there a lot of Gambians in Ann Arbor or in this area, or how many are there? I don't know. Do you have a community of people from Gambia here or not?
No, in Ann Arbor, I think I only know of me and one other person who is a PhD student in history. But in the Detroit metro, we have a community. So when I was living in Dearborn, when I was working at Ford, I used to meet with them a lot. But since I moved to Ann Arbor, and because of COVID, not a lot of meetings.
Okay. And you said something about Atlanta and your mom or something. Is it that Atlanta has a larger community from Gambia? Is your family here, or I don't know. You said something, I maybe missed it.
Yes. Atlanta has like a very Atlanta has like a very I think one of the biggest concentration of Gambians in the diaspora will be in Atlanta, I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
So any of your family lives in the US or not?
Just me and my younger brother.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. Where is he?
He is currently in Missouri.
Okay.
He just recently graduated too.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. That's great. So you said there are a lot of alligators, crocodiles, and so forth. Are there a lot of lions in Gambia also? You showed all those, all those costumes and so forth, but are there a lot of lions there too or not?
No, we've actually lost all our lion. We've lost most of our lion population now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So the ones that we have are just in reserves now. We've lost almost all of them.
So if there's, you showed some of the obviously tourist attractions and stuff like that. But if there's one place that you'd say if you go to Gambia, you definitely have to visit, and no place else, just go and visit this one place or one thing, do this one thing, what would be that one thing?
That is, well, if I am judging by myself.
Yeah, you, not tourist attractions necessarily, but
I would go on the river. I would do the river cruise because the
okay.
river, because like there is a lot of settlements just on the banks of the river. If you just do that cruise, you will just see everything Gambia. Just going through the river, you will see everything Gambia.
Well, maybe we'll come back and ask you for recommendations and names of a cruise or something that we can go and take, when we go there. But thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So these are I sent the link for the music that I was playing. That shows the Sona Jobade playing kora and the other one playing the calabash. And then I sent like the food places, KG's African American, that is in Garden City, Inkster, and Matty's Cuisine is in Detroit. Don't tell them they serve Senegalese versions of Gambian food, but Gambians know how to make it better.
Cool. Demba, I was just curious. This was amazing, by the way. Thank you so much. This was so great. When you were talking about the crocodile, or I think the alligators, I can't quite remember which one. Have you ever been there? Like, have you encountered those encounters where you've gotten to talk to or touch a crocodile or whatever? Because I feel like I would just straight away. What was did you do it? What was it like? Or if not, would you recommend it? Good things about it?
Yes, I did that. I mean, it's funny now that these things are tourist attractions. It's funny when you are living at home and you are like, oh, this is normal thing. And then all of a sudden, many people actually go and visit these things for that. But where I went to school, I can easily walk to this place always. So I actually went to the crocodile pool a lot of times, and I've actually talked to crocodile too. So it was just a normal thing then. Like for me, growing up as a kid, it wasn't that big. But so now if you go and you search any blog on Gambia or on travel, they will tell you, go and visit this and see a real crocodile and even have the opportunity to touch it. But historically, the crocodiles over there have been, it's like, it was historically started as a spiritual place of worship. But now it's more of a tourist attraction.
I guess I have a question too, Demba. What made you decide you wanted to do engineering while you were in Gambia?
Oh, yeah. So I initially started liking physics. I was gonna do physics, and then I had my first computer in high school, and then I was like, oh, computers are pretty cool. So electrical engineering was the closest that could give me both. So that was actually the reason why I'm in electrical engineering. Give me like
That's super
both
neat.
some physics, math, and computer programming.
Yep, get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any last questions?
Yeah.
I just have to ask, oh,
No.
sorry, Khalil, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, mine is rather silly, but Demba, you've mentioned a couple of times, you know, if you want to go and touch a crocodile, and that's not something that I've ever thought that I might want to do. But you mentioned it a couple of times. Is that something people do? They go and touch them?
Yes, people go and touch them, especially in the new photo world. You go and you take a picture, you put it on Instagram. So yes, things like that, right? People probably go and do it for that. But previously, you go and touch the crocodile to pray. So now people just go and touch
okay.
the
You
crocodile.
touch one and you pray.
Yes,
Wow.
you
You
ask
pray
for
that they don't
favors.
eat you. Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you.
Demba, can you say some things in Gambian, your language, and then I don't know, say like I'm studying PhD at ECE at University of, well, maybe these are mostly names, something, and then at the end, can you do go blue in Gambian?
Can you do what?
Go blue in Gambian. Translate go blue in Gambian at the end.
Okay, so I would say to say that I'm speaking to this, to say that I am studying PhD. Okay, Mbakaran Lafala, University of Michigan. Mbakaran Lafala, so Michigan Nakaramumba. I'm trying to translate university too.
Oh, okay.
So it means that I am furthering my education, but I'm becoming like, so karandingo, karang means learning. Karandingo means your bachelor. Karamba means like I'm doing PhD. And Michigan na karamumba, well, like University of Michigan. Yeah.
Okay.
So go blue would be, okay. Wow, that would be really hard to actually.
We're giving Demba a quiz.
So you can't make a t-shirt. I was thinking, maybe it's like a short thing. You can put it on a t-shirt, MECE, and like, underneath it, like, put go blue and Gambian.
Yeah, sadly, I'm not like, so I cannot even write the language. I can speak my local language, but I cannot write it. So like, I'm not like the best. I'm not the best representative.
So why is it hard to translate go blue? What is blue in Gambian?
That is what I actually forgot.
Oh my God! You forgot blue of all the colors.
Yeah, like Netetu, Jambakero. So I think because I grew up in the coastal region, like, so because there's a lot of influence people, so many of my language actually has a lot of English in it. So if I'm talking to my younger brother, I will just tell him blue. I will just tell him blue. But
okay.
There is a local one for it. I forgot that.
Okay.
So maybe if you find it later on, you can share it with us and we can share it with everyone.
Okay, yeah, I'll make that my assignment.
Also, just a quick congrats. I don't know if everybody on this call knows this, but Demba has been awarded 2 really prestigious fellowships. He got the Microsoft Ada Lovelace Fellowship and an NSF Research Fellow. So congratulations, Demba, on that. That's so exciting. So if you're curious about reading that, you can check that we did a couple write-ups on it.
That's fantastic.
So,
Congratulations, Demba.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and Denma, maybe you could tell us a little about what you do to have earned those wonderful awards.
Yeah, I mean, it was based on my research on localization, just trying to do localization and positioning in an indoor environment or in places where you cannot easily have like your GPS signals. So we are trying to use like low powered. Yeah, we are trying to use low powered trying to build a low powered system to do indoor localization in places where GPS is not available or the signal of GPS is not really good. It's very degraded. And that's the big picture of it.
Well, thank you so much, Demba. I know we're like a few minutes past time, so I guess if there's any last minute questions, maybe we can have Demba answer via email. But I wanted to give Demba a round of applause for putting on this amazing presentation, especially during a busy time of the year. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining in today. And we are trying to continue this throughout the summer, so we'll keep you posted when that is available. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Demba.